should also be more creative and look at what, as an alternative to oil, what are you developing?
So let's take, for example, what makes Lagos so viable? We have the seaports here, taxes are being paid, and a whole lot more. So some would say it is unfair to even do a comparison between Lagos and the rest of the different states of the Federation. But Lagos is still a small pool compared to the resources of the rest.
I always like to say that Lagos is a beneficiary of an accident of birth.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, whatever successes that we're seeing in Lagos, trust me, is not necessarily down to wizardry, financial wizardry, or strategic planning wizardry on the part of anybody. It's that Lagos State was the federal capital for a long time, and majority of the businesses in Nigeria have been headquartered here for a long time.
It's also coastal.
And then it's coastal, and the ports are there, and the ports were developed and has been in use here. The major airport is here. So, and the major chunk of the population of Nigeria.
How do we replicate all
here.
of these?
We've got to be deliberate. Now, the issue of diversification, let me, you know, when we say diversification, sometimes we sort of get it wrong. Nigeria's economy is diversified. If you look at our GDP, our production, you know, the oil industry contributes just about 20% to our GDP. Agriculture contributes about 30%, the manufacturing sector another 20-25%.
But that's still not enough.
No, the issue is, it's not that it's not enough, it's that government is not efficient in tapping the revenues that are available from those other areas into its coffers. We've focused entirely on the revenues from oil, petroleum tax, petroleum income tax, and all the other taxes at the expense of those other sectors. Why? Because majority of the players in those sectors are informal. They're in the informal sector, and it's going to be, you've got to be creative and you've got to be very deliberate about bringing them into the tax net.
Okay, for the lack of time now, quickly, gentlemen, the Revenue Mobilization and Allocation and Fiscal Commission has an advice for state government, and it says that they are right to demand a review of the revenue sharing formula of the Federation accounts. But is the review necessarily the solution? Because under the current sharing formula, some would say that the federal government takes the lion's share, while the rest just have barely 26.72%, and then we see going to the state, and then we see just 20.60% going to local government areas now. Do you think a review is the solution?
All of that, you know, the conversation around restructuring has been on now. It's political mantra now in the last 4 years. All of that is around the restructuring conversation. It's got to happen. If we maintain it the way it is now, we're going to keep getting the same inefficient results, the same lack of revenue. Look, Nigeria is grossly underperforming in terms of revenues. Nigeria as a country generates just about 12 trillion naira every year in revenues. It's a far cry from what we can do. And one of the fundamental causes is this. We need to reverse that. Let the source of revenue come from the states. Let them contribute to the federal government and use the rest of the money to develop themselves.
Is this overreaching, Steve?
No.
Wrapping up.
You see, okay, wrapping up. Let me say that we actually suffer from something that I imagine ideologically in the conflict between communism and capitalism and all that during the 80s and all that. You see, many people in that period started to believe the dogma that government does not do business. Most of our states can actually do business. They shouldn't just sit like that. They can actually engage in some form of business on their own, not simply provide incentives for private sector. Because if you look back at what was happening with the regional governments in those days, they were actually engaged in government, in business in one form or the other. The Midwest government had a lot of businesses it was engaged in. The Northern government did a lot of things in business, and so in the East. So this our state governors should start thinking of running their states like businesses.
I think
There's nothing wrong with that.
I think that's what's to be said from what is said is that we need to start seeing our governments as businesses.
Exactly.
Even if they're not involved in businesses, let them run as if
That's
they're
why the call
businesses.
now still comes back. Do you think it's still a valid call that we have to see a review of this sharing formula? Then that gives them the funds to make. You need money to make money.
No,
That's
no,
what I
no.
would say.
You see, when you always talk of
You have 30
getting more money, it just makes you lazy. You play no real part. You see, your IGR is low. So the money you are talking of sharing in, you didn't generate it.
And you still use it to settle
Yeah,
the
so the conversation
it makes you
around
lazy.
sharing. When
So don't you at all create.
Create.
Go and make money.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Steve Aguirre, a legal practitioner and the Rules and Ethics Director of the Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. Thank you very much for speaking with us. And we've also had Segun Shokbeton, the Chairman of the BOT, also from the Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. And hopefully that's the watchword for our state and federal actors elected now. Accountability, candor, as well as transparency in all of our dispensation. And hopefully we'll see the dividend of democracy reach our hands. Like I always say, time will definitely tell. If we take this practice, we'll see the dividend.
Amen.
Amen.
Everyone likes saying amen. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a quick look at our plus packages tonight, and when we return, I'll bring you my take. It's now time to bring you my take, and one of the biggest issues impeding the fight against corruption and public perception of this in Nigeria is the notion that questions really to what extent do anti-graft bodies like the EFCC are objective, unbiased, not tilting in favor of political leanings, rather operating within the tenet of the rule of law. Fighting corrupt practices and trends is no witch hunt, but well, the narrative only changes when we see convincing track records and investigations begin and reach a conclusive, logical end. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. It's sure going to be another day tomorrow, same time, as we tackle some more political and topical issues. I'm David Alabi. It's been a pleasure having you. Bye for now.
I'm under the bridge in Mendey, Maryland, at the very popular Cane Village, particularly thrilled at the level of creativity being displayed in terms of the artworks here by the artisans. An array of weavers and sellers of baskets, chairs, and artistic household furniture made out of cane were all hard at work at the time of my visit to the Cane Village. The men, women, and children all seemed engrossed at their day's task. I was welcomed by the president of the Cane Weavers Association, Mr. Edward Akpofure. According to Edward, the weavers and sellers were collectively relocated under this bridge in 2002, a hard miss for anyone coming from Ikeja or Ikorodu access. This is a fantastic location. How long has this Cane Village been in existence?
Well, the Cane Village has been existed for a long time ago. We rise from our forefather who founded this industry, established it for year 1974. But we came to register this industry in 1986. It was registered as National Cane Weaver Association. So we have been existed for many years. Before we came on board, we have been a roadside seller, but the government said that they don't want anything else. Anybody want to operate such thing, you must come under union and register.
From my observation, more elderly weavers were in sight as I pondered on the posterity of this age-long craft. What exactly does it take to learn this craft? How long would it take an average person to learn how to make something like this?
If you want to learn this work, one thing you need to have is that you have to have patience. This work is not something you can just carry knife and do. You go for process. You got the material which is called cane. And from there, you scrape it. After you scrape it, you tear it. After you tear it, then you now carve it. And this chair you are sitting on today now, before we work on it, we have procedure go through before you come like this. We have the framework. After the framework, before you can weave on it. So learning this work is not really a bad thing, and to know this work is not a bad thing. You know, I can tell you today now we are in this business. We have many graduates in this business. And those who finish secondary school are here. Are they here? Yes. And some of them can even do this work and now making their life better by go more further their education more. So we create job opportunity. This job is helping young people who are not lazy.
I was eager to meet the university graduate who came into the business for what he described as a lack of jobs in Nigeria. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the unemployment rate bedeviling the country as of the third quarter of 2018 stood at 23.1%, hence putting the number of unemployed at 20.9 million.
I'm a graduate from University of Port Harcourt. I studied pure and industrial chemistry. I graduated the year 2010, did my NYSC in Ebonyi State, Zia Girls Secondary School in Zangbo. I left the NYSC the year 2014. So, but due to Nigeria and no job creation for we the youth, so we engage ourselves since Nigeria said that everybody should find themselves doing one or two things.
However grateful for the good gift of education, which he said was sponsored by his parents, with hopes of being employed after graduation, he fell back to this craft, which for him portends a means for better livelihood.
So I started doing it right from the year 1990. After my university, since there is no job, I have to fall back to what I know how to do best. So at least I can make money and take care of myself.
He described the various weaving techniques associated with the creation of a variety of cane-woven designs.
As you can see, this one, the cane comes from Delta State. It grows within the riverine areas. There's one that comes from Delta State, Bayelsa State, Rivers State, Edo State, Ondo State, and there are some in Lagos as well. But that in Lagos differs from the one that comes from Delta State. So But we prefer the ones that come from Benin and Delta states. So that is where we have our suppliers from. So now this one is the cane. It's also the same cane that we use in caning kids in the school. So now for me to use this now, example, if I want to make these chairs now, like this one comprises of two materials. This one, there is the wooden part, which is the frame. Before you make the chair like this, you must make the skeleton, which is the frame with the wood. Then after the wood, then before you get your cane, then after the cane, you cannot just use the cane like this. If you can say that the color of this one and the color of this one, they are two different colors. Then when I get to this stage, now depends on what I want to use it for. Depends on what I want to do. If I want to do this chair, then definitely I'm to chair this into 4 pieces because I'm to use just the back of it. I won't use the inner of it. But if I want to do another design, maybe something like this, I'm going to use the inner of it and the outside.
While this craft had transcended many generations, I could tell it consumed a lot of production time, which affected the ability to meet up with purchase order demands from customers. For this reason, some of the weavers have employed the use of rattan made from polyester, a more expensive but efficient material imported into the country. Macaulay, however, confirmed my assumptions.
The manual processes delays the production. So, and that's the reason why these days we are now shifting from the cane aspects to the one we call the outdoor, the rattan process, which is now the one that has been done through polyester materials. But meanwhile, it's not being done in Nigeria yet, and it's more expensive compared to that of the cane. Like if you see these two materials now, they are different. This one is the rubber one. This one is made from polyester. Then why this one is a cane. So this one is faster in production compared to this.
While the cane weaving procedure can be done in isolation of things like electricity, the rattan procedure may use an electric-powered compressor or one which makes use of fuel. But due to the inconsistent power supply in the country, weavers such as Macaulay settled for compressors which make use of fuel.
Meanwhile, in doing this, there is no how I can do this without the help of this gun and a compressor. Meanwhile, there is a stapler we put inside. Then with the help of the compressor, see, we use this to staple the rubber to it so that at least it can hold. That of the cane aspect of this craft is already weaving out due to the factor of producing it and getting of materials from the forest. And the forest where they get these canes from these days, like the people that supplies us the cane are complaining that the bush are already being burned. Now people that plant these days are now burning the cane. So before they get to the forest where they will get this cane now, it's very, very difficult for them. So now that's the reason why we try to advance into this new technology that the whites, the Americans, the Japanese, the Chinese, they are already using in their own country. And some Nigerians travel abroad and import this thing into Nigeria. If someone comes to me and said he wants this one, he wants like 15 sets of Dick's Dining within 1 week, I can boldly tell the clients that he's going to pick it up. But that of the cane, even 1 month, it won't be ready due to the process of preparing your materials, getting your frames ready. Like that of the cane, a set of cane chair, at least you get it for like 150,000. 170,000. But a set of rattan chair, the least amount you can get is 250,000.
This market right here does have a high level of economic benefit for the country if issues such as financial deficit as well as a restructuring of the business can be done by the government. The weavers remain optimistic about their ability to expand and possibly export their products someday. Edward says financial aid from the government would go a long way.
If government shall now say, I want to give individual 500,000 to start. I tell you, when you invest 500,000 for this business by a year, by the end of the year, you will make a return of even 300,000 on top of that 500, even a million. Because during December time, the period of December, when many companies want to do outpass gift, they come here to have a demand of basket. Many. Even when you do not have money, you can never meet up there because they will come, they will demand more than you don't even have. So, but you don't have money to do this, you cannot get it. But at that time, the price will even favor you because that time the price will wait up because there will much demand that time. So if the government help us, will give us money, we do this business, we keep them toward December time, we bring them for sale. You know, when you borrow money for bank, maybe all these bank microfinance now, you borrow today, tomorrow they are coming to collect the money from you. And this our business does not go like that. You see, we do the business, you give us money, you give us time to work with that money. So by the time maybe 7 months, 8 months, we started to pay. You know, so we have produced something that by the time we carry the market or where we want to sell, return that money back, it will not be a problem at all. But when you give me money today, tomorrow you are coming, you are trying to keep the business man. You are not making my business to this. We are not buying and selling. It's not this buying and selling this. So it's something you produce before you can sell.
For Edward, financial aid from the government and a restructuring of their current location to take on a more tourist look would improve the shortfall in supply as well as make them more competitive in the global market, hence giving way to export.
Like this place we come today now, government can come to this place and turn it to tourist center as cane industry. So whereby they build a good structure and whereby people come and make their daily bread, whereby government can get sort of out of it. It's the looks of this our work now. You have to finish there. To export them is another problem because we don't have the financial background to carry this work outside for people to buy. We only look at this rata work now. Before we don't know how to do them. But now we are now named them and we know how to do them. So all those things that they are going for abroad for, we have them. We have the knowledge, the people who are so intelligent to do this craft work here in Nigeria, in this cane industry. It's just what the government should come and ask us, how can we do it? And we tell them the other side of it, where we need their help.
Macaulay was gracious enough to take me around the cane village on a tour.
This is dining for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 chairs. There's going to be a glass of 10 mm on it, which is this. This is a glass. This glass will be on it. If I'm to produce this one now, to do this one alone, it's going to take me about 1 week to produce just one of this. But if I'm to do it in the rattan, it's going to take me maximum of 2 days. I'm done with this. This one cannot withstand the outdoor. It's not something that can withstand rain. And that one can withstand rain. This one is made with raffia. We'll call this one raffia. This material is sort. This material, we get this material from Cotonou. Something like this one now is about 2,000.
And how long would it take you to make it?
This one takes about 1 hour. So that's the reason why during the Xmas period, people don't even do chairs.
Amazing, amazing items. I certainly had fun here, and I did get myself some take home as well. For Plus TV Africa, I am Irene Ubani.
Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi and here are the stories making the headlines. We now begin our news bulletin at this hour with reports of hundreds of people today storming Nigeria's Mission House in the United Kingdom as well as the United States of America for prayer vigils as part of global concern for the 16th birthday anniversary of Leah Sharibu, one of the 110 girls abducted from the school in Dapchi by Boko Haram insurgents. Now, there would also be an event at the U.S. Senate building on Capitol Hill today in Washington. In a related development, pupils of primary schools in Jos had a peaceful march and at the same time praying for her safe return. The pupils drawn from different schools called on the federal government of Nigeria to secure schools so that innocent children are not made to suffer for things they know nothing about. Speaking at the mini rally, the president of Leah Sharibu Foundation, Dr. Gloria Samdi Poldu, appealed to the federal government to honor its promises of freeing Leah from captivity. And still on the matter, prominent Nigerians have also joined the call for Leah Sharibu's release and also to wish her a happy birthday. Reno Mokri, Senator Ali Ndume, Senator Ben Bruce, among others also commend Leah Sharibu for her bravery. Now, joining us from London, United Kingdom, is Reno Mokri, former aide to ex-President Goodluck Jonathan and founder of the Free Leah Sharibu movement. Good to have you join us, Reno. Now, why is marking Leah's birthday such a big deal for you?
Marking Leah Sharibu's birthday is very important to me because it shows that she hasn't been forgotten. You know, I've been to 19 countries since this year. I've actually been to more, but in 2019 I've been to 19 countries. I've met with VIPs all over the world. 3 weeks ago I was with Boris Johnson, the former UK Foreign Secretary, who might emerge as the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And after that meeting, the Pope called President Buhari. So it's really important. It shows that Leah has not been forgotten, and then it makes her valuable to her captors. And the more valuable she is to her captors, the more likely that she is not going to be killed. And we are praying that by this time next year we'll celebrate her birthday live with her parents.
Now, what do you also make of efforts made by the government so far now to ensure the secure and then release of Leah Sharibu from captivity? We've always had diverse reactions towards this government effort.
Well, I think the government can do a whole lot better. They can do a whole lot better. I mean, we know for a fact that the current Minister of Defense said he had back channels to Boko Haram. The government has back channels, and so they could do a lot. We got privileged information yesterday, as a matter of fact, that Boko Haram are ready to negotiate. You know, it was, in fact, I wouldn't say it's privileged information. It was released by the AFP, the Agence France Presse. So we know that they are ready to negotiate. The government should negotiate for the release of this girl, because this girl is not being kept because she's a girl or because of anything. She's being kept because she has refused to abandon her faith in Christ. And, you know, it's not a very good thing for Nigeria to have that classification. I don't think the government is doing enough. They could do a lot more. They could use those back channels. Recently, we saw a girl, Zainab Aliyu, who was suspected to have carried drugs into Saudi Arabia. Now, she said she didn't do it, but we saw the priority that the government, President Muhammadu Buhari, personally placed on Zainab's freedom. He put himself personally machinery in motion to get her released. Now, is it because Zainab Aliyu is a Muslim, and you know, we don't want to say these things. You know, I feel bad saying it, but we have to. When we see what's been happening, we are left with very little choice but to make these comparisons. The government could do a lot more, and I urge President Muhammadu Buhari that same sense of urgency that he showed with the case of Zainab Aliyu, he should show that to Leah Sharibu. Leah Sharibu was 14 when she was abducted. Now she's 16. You know, I've been going around the world, and I will still keep on going around the world. If the president thinks these girls, they pay the world. I'm going around the world with my Free Leah Sharibu clothing. I have them, various sets of them. That's all I wear. That's all I wear, you know. And I'm saying to you, in answer to that question, yes, I believe that the government should negotiate for the release of Leah Sharibu.
And some would also say once bitten, twice shy. But how can the federal government of Nigeria this time around learn from all of these experiences and ensure that we don't have a repeat of Leah Sharibu's incident?
You asked me how the government can prevent a repeat of this situation. You see, the reason why northern Nigeria right now is under an insecurity blanket is because that area, that part of the world, has the most number of illiterates per square mile. Now, it's not an insult if you are a northerner, it's just a reality. And that's the reason why former President Jonathan built 165 Almajiri schools in the north. He didn't build any in the south, he built all of them in the north, including 9 new federal universities. So there's no state in northern Nigeria that doesn't have a university courtesy of former President Jonathan. And there's no state in northern Nigeria that does not have at least 4 Almajiri schools. Now, if you do not arrest illiteracy, you're going to keep on arresting Nigerian youths for insecurity, because you obviously know the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Satan, the devil, finds work for idle hands. These people, you have in Kano alone 3 million children that are out of school. In northern Nigeria, you have a total of 12 million children that are out of school. I think it was last year, Nigeria overtook India as the #1 country with the most out of school children. Now, bear this in mind that India has 8 times our population. So it has to be a long-term strategy. This administration has been in power now for 4 years. They haven't built one single school. Go and verify that. Go and research that. I'm notorious, or I'm known for being in command of the facts. I research before I speak. I don't just speak anyhow. They haven't built one school. Now, how are you going to address this issue? You think you're going to do that with guns and bullets? These people, they're not afraid of dying. They want to die. They want to go to Al-Jannah Fidausi, which is what the Quran calls paradise. And they think that if you kill them, that is the fastest way. Now, I've read the Quran, and I know that what their interpretation of the Quran is wrong. But the only way that they will know it is wrong is if you educate them. Because the more you know, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more enlightened you become. So the way to prevent a repeat of this is to massively declare an educational emergency in Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria. It doesn't matter if you're spending money from the south in northern Nigeria, because I tell you what, if you don't educate northern Nigeria, a lot of this insecurity is going to come down south to southern Nigeria and then to other West African countries, and it's going to destabilize West Africa, just like Sierra Leone destabilized West Africa in the 90s.
Well, I would also like to have your take now on the current spate of killings, insecurity, kidnappings in the country in recent times. You made mention of Kano and the north as well. What do you make of all of these so far?
Now, you asked me what I make of the spate of killings, insecurity, and kidnapping in recent times. Now, you have to understand that this is no big surprise. You know, this is a Reverend Malthus's theory. It's a Malthusian theory, because if you remember Reverend Malthus, he said that where population far outgrows the production of a country, that there will be war, there will be famine, there will be disease, there will be insecurity. And we are seeing that Nigeria's population is one of the fastest growing populations of the world. Only, I think it's Niger Republic and one other country, I can't remember, has a higher growth rate than we do. So we have our growth rate in Nigeria is about 2.8%. Now, if you now cut the country into two and then you just take northern Nigeria on its own, then we have the fastest growing population in the whole world. But when you put northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria together, then it drops, because the population growth rate in the south is slower. But here's the thing: Nigeria's growth rate is 2.8, but then our GDP is growing at a pace of 1.2%. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, our GDP was even growing in negative. Well, it was negative growth, so it wasn't growing; it was contracting. So what you have is that you're having more mouths, and then you're having less food. So what's going to happen if you have that in your house as a father? If you have you had a job, and then you had 3 children, then you lost your job, and then now you have 6 children. Obviously, there's going to be turmoil in your house. There's going to be trouble in your house. Your kids will start stealing in the neighborhood. Your state will now become a nuisance, a menace to society, and that's what's happening in Nigeria. Unfortunately, President Muhammadu Buhari, look, I'm not trying to insult him, but he lacks the mental capacity to understand these complex economic principles, because this is a man who went to the Commonwealth last year and said that Nigerian youths are lazy. Nigerian youths are not lazy. I've been to all states of Nigeria. I'm a traveler, and you see Nigerian youths working. You go to Lagos today, you see Nigerian youths hawking on the street, hustling. You know, I just got back from Cambodia, Thailand, and Singapore as part of my Free Leah Sharibu campaign. And you see Nigerians there. Nigerians are all over the world. Nigerians are anything but lazy. But this man says that our youths are lazy because he lacks the intellectual capacity to grasp what is happening in this country. Our population growth is far outweighing our GDP growth. And that is a Malthusian theory. It's not rocket science. Once you have that, there's going to be insecurity, there's going to be kidnapping, there's going to be all kinds of crime. And the way to do that is to address the root cause of it, and that's poverty. And how do you address poverty? You address poverty by attacking illiteracy. Because the more you learn, the more you earn. It's not the government's job to provide jobs for people, but it's the government's job to create an environment by which people can create jobs. And the way you do that as a government is to ensure that there is education. Former President Jonathan tried to scrap fuel subsidy. This current president, you know, when he tried to do that, frustrated the efforts with members of his party now in power, the APC. Now Nigeria is spending something like 1 trillion every year on fuel subsidy. Now, the fuel that we used last year, we brought it all up, it's all gone. But what if we used that money to educate Nigerians, to educate those 12 million children who are out of school in northern Nigeria? So what you're going to have is that you're going to have those people, instead of working hard, they'll start working smart. And then it's going to have an effect on the economy. But once you have those people, 12 million, just look at that, that's more than the population of some of Nigeria's neighbors, like Togo. And then you have those people, what's going to happen when they become adults? You think that we have insecurity now? You think that we have kidnapping now? You think that we have crime now? Wait until those 12 million children become adults.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Reno Omokri. We've been speaking with him from London. And Reno Omokri was the ex-aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, and he has been vocal calling for the release of Leah Sharibu since her abduction in February 2018 by Boko Haram insurgents, and hopefully the government of the day listens to some of these cues. Now, still staying with reports on the call for the release of Leah Sharibu since her abduction, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has also applauded the heroine, Dapchi schoolgirl Leah Sharibu during an event at the prestigious Georgetown University in Washington, United States. The teenager was kidnapped on February 19, 2018, alongside her schoolmates from their Government Science College at Dapchi, Yobe State. Likening Leah to the late South African iconic human rights champion and President Nelson Mandela, Soyinka stated, and I quote, "We must celebrate the exception who said no, as it is reminded of all of us that Mandela also refused conditional release." The poet said he could only recite the excerpts because he broke down the last time he attempted to read it. Soyinka also did an epic takedown of a Georgetown professor's claim that poverty and desperation were behind the Boko Haram insurgency. He said, and I quote, "It was ideological, bordering on the metaphysical, and we should not underestimate it. We are dealing with something much deeper." Now, shifting focus to party politics, Hope Democratic Party, that's the HDP, has filed a motion seeking an order of the Presidential Election Tribunal restraining President Muhammadu Buhari from presenting himself to be sworn in on May 29th. The party is also seeking an order restraining the Chief Justice of Nigeria from swearing in or administering the oath of office and oath of allegiance to the President on May 29. In a motion on notice made available to journalists on Tuesday, the HDP filed the motion on 6 grounds pursuant to Section 1, Subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended and under the jurisdiction of the tribunal. In Labour matters also, members of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, are currently protesting at the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And the workers carrying various placards assembled at the entrance of the SON headquarters. And according to the workers, the protest is against alleged cases of corruption, poor staff welfare, and non-payment of entitlements. The workers also claim illegal promotion and are calling for the intervention of the EFCC and the ICPC into the operations of the organization. The management of the organization is, however, yet to respond to the allegations of the protesters as at the time of filing this report. We pay ransoms to bandits daily. That's according to Zamfara local government chiefs, 2 ministers, and now away from labor matters to security, the vice chairman of Shinkafi local government area of Zamfara state, Sani Galadima, on Monday said bandits killed. Well, Galadima said this when he received the Minister of Interior, Abdurrahman Dambazo, who was in the state. The news continues in just a moment after the short break. Do stay with us.
Today on the program, we'll be talking with Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi, a media guru.
When I was fired from my job at the Daily Times, I started my company. Young people aren't doing enough. They followed Mogalu, they followed Rotary on social media. On election day, how many votes did I get? The Zik story, it wasn't anything that was done maliciously. Today, people deliberately go out and put out a story knowing that story is fake and false. Many of our younger journalists are just plain lazy. Looking back at my own days in the media, when I interviewed world leaders, I went to interview Mr. Gandhi, Shimon Peres, Benazir Bhutto. Conventional media, as we've known it, is in trouble. Print journalism is dying gradually. You can't compete with the hacks, but you can compete with the form of social media. Many media houses are beginning to fold up.
Premiering this Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. with a repeat broadcast at 8:30 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
That money we shoot every person that we know can shoot. We don't let people die there.
You could have killed us for a long period of time.
Is that time why I carry gonorrhea? I first go hospital first, but it no go. Now I come make that mama.
He just pulled it, he pointed and shot.
What is the soul of a man? They suffer too much. They suffer too much.
Issues around the Nigerian police, we have to tackle it holistically.
I actually moved back to Nigeria to open a bakery. This was my goal, and everything I did up till this point was in preparation for this. First of all, life was great because I moved in 2015 right before the recession, right? It was awesome. I was like, wow, there's so much money out here, man. The cost of overheads, power generation, water, you have to be your own local government. And there are no tax breaks. Many places where, where they realize the small business environment is difficult would offer some kind of tax breaks and incentives. We don't do that out here. We want you to come back. We want you to, to start businesses here, but we're not going to do anything to help you. All my experiences in the past have led me ultimately to where I am now.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Glad to have you back, and if you're just joining us, you're watching news on the Hour and Plus TV Africa. We apologize for the technical hitch before the short break. It's now time to bring you business news. Now, the Nigerian Stock Exchange on Monday held an investment training workshop targeted at educating investors and intending investors on various investment options available in the securities market. Our business correspondent, Irene Ubani, was present and also files in details in this report.
In a bid to build and strengthen investor confidence and promote retail investors' participation in the capital market, the Nigerian Stock Exchange hosted an investment workshop themed Investment Masterclass, Making Your Money Work. The workshop brought together investors and intending investors as they were duly educated on various investment opportunities and products available in the market. Representing the CEO of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Oscar Onyema, was Jude Chukwuemeka, the head of Trading Business Division.
Nigeria has a population of over 190 million people and is the second largest economy in Africa, this we all know. However, the current financial inclusion indices of 48% leave much to be desired. Financial inclusion is a priority of stakeholders in the capital market, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange makes it a primary concern to contribute towards the achievement of government's national financial inclusion strategy of reducing the proportion of adult Nigerians that are financially excluded to 20% in the year 2020.
Giving a brief on the activities of the stock exchange was Abimbola Babalola.
Equities means that I can subscribe and be part owner of a particular company by buying shares into that particular company. I can also do a preference shares where, I will subscribe, but the promise is that I will be given a fixed dividend.
The team from Vativa Securities Limited also presented a session on investing as a tool for achieving financial freedom.
Our rule of thumb normally is money is needed under 5 years, you save them. Money is needed for more than 10 years, you invest. Money is required between 5 and 10 years. Your attitude should, basically your risk and your goals should be tailored towards your needs. Most likely you're going to need a combination of savings and investments.
The major reason why you would invest in equities is 1, capital appreciation, 2, passive income, passive returns, which is your dividend income. Don't invest in a market that is overbought. An overbought market using a technical indicator, RSI, that is your relative strength indicator, is a market that has had gains, so it is in the over the 70% threshold overbought.
There was also a session on the exchange-traded fund.
At the core of investing is a principle called diversification. So you can either choose across various asset classes. Don't live here thinking that, okay, it is only stocks, and I'm not a risky investor, so I'm not going to take stocks. Don't live here thinking that, okay, it's only fixed income, it's only bonds. So there are various asset classes that you can tap into.
For Plus TV Africa, Irene Ubani.
Well, that's it in business news. Still to come, we have entertainment and sports news. Don't go anywhere. Talking entertainment now, following Naira Marley's detention by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on fraud-related charges, Nigerian rapper Rugged Man has finally broken his silence on the issue. He stated, and I quote, "I do not know Naira Marley personally. The same day or the same way, I do not know the over 300 Nigerians I have gotten justice for against police brutality. I do it because it is who I am." He went on further to say, "I do not look forward to anyone's downfall, but rather hope we all learn from the situation. I hereby state categorically that I had nothing to do with his arrest. We all must recall that he glorified fraud on a public platform where security agencies like the police, NDLEA and EFCC are also on. I, however, was the one that cautioned him." He ended his statement by saying, "Despite the disrespect to my person, I got nothing against him and only longed for him to be discerning and utilize his position of influence appropriately." That's it on entertainment. We have sports news now with Udoka.
You got goals, you fancy footwork, you mad dribbling skills, you boots.
Most of you guys should know this drill.
You leg over, you raise, you run them, you tip, you tear shot and boom. You football.
And in sports, Manchester City midfielder Ilkay Gundogan, who had put a hold on contract talks earlier this year, is now ready to reopen contract talks with the club. The 28-year-old's current deal will expire next summer, and there is a willingness on both sides to agree fresh terms, although no agreement is in place yet. And Gundogan is expected to start in the FA Cup final against Watford at the weekend. He was unsure that he would get as much first-team football as desired in the final years of his career, but his chances of regular football are expected to increase, however, with both David Silva and Fernandinho nearing the end of their City careers. Pep Guardiola had also hinted that the standoff by suggesting the midfielder did not want to sign a new deal, but the Catalan sees him as an important part of the club's plans and is keen for the club to extend his stay at the Etihad Stadium. And that's it on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I'm Udoka Njoku.
Many thanks, Udoka, and that's our news roundup of event at this hour from our Lagos studio. For more news, update and broadcast, please follow us at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And please do also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. Many thanks for watching.
Mona Lisa is all about me. It's all about you. It's all about our stories. The stories that never get told, but ought to.
Whereby water transportation does not make financial sense, it makes economic sense.
I was there for 2.5 hours on the floor. Nobody attended to me.
If we don't take care of the poor will take care of us.
It's about getting at the root of things and hearing from the horse's mouth.
We are 15 public hospitals to make them affordable.
In the whole of Africa, we are bigger. You know, Nigeria, we sleep, eat, dream, fashion.
Those with the financial backing don't see fashion as an investment, which makes no sense.
If they do it for free, they won't have money for the next case.
Mona Lisa is about real life and the real lives, yours and mine. Make a date with Mona Lisa, and together, let's ensure that the important stories get told.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really?
Disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
backfired.
very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
In recent times, getting employment is a major testimony. Getting a fantastic job, that's a cat with all the cream. So in what world does anyone ever leave that sort of job? Well, in this world. Not Your 9 to 5 show covers all the seemingly questions and intrigues.
I can't work for anybody. Number of times I spent with shoes, I see shoes in my dreams sometimes.
I can't be waiting for salary.
I know we have a lot of challenges.
Working for people is like starting from the scratch.
We have political issues, we have socio-economic issues, we even have spiritual issues.
I don't think I can do 9 to 5 anymore. So this is not your regular 9 to 5.
It's my life, my world.
Join me, Amaka Okoye, on Not Your 9 to 5, showing on Monday 5:30 p.m. and Thursday 11:30 a.m. West African time.
Today's top stories are...
And the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria.
I'm here at Eunice Bashoru Street, where the
fire destroyed our transformer complete as well.
The lowest level you can.
I'm Lakme Banjo. This is Plus TV Africa. The big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
This TV station, Plus TV Africa, is designed to help to create a paradigm shift. The more we tell our stories, the more we learn from whatever our past mistakes have been.
We can be much more than we are. We should be doing a lot in refineries.
And we are definitely investing in our staff. We're training, we're developing, we're creating the kind of workforce that will be the envy of the international broadcast. The quality of the reportage, the quality of our presentation, the quality of our production will be obvious. We're saying that we want to reach Africans wherever they are and get the message across to them. That's what Plus TV Africa is all about.
Today on the program, we'll be talking with Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi, a media guru.
When I was fired from my job at the Daily Times, I started my company. Young people aren't doing enough. They followed Mogalu, they followed Rotary on social media. On election day, how many votes did I get? The Zik story, it wasn't anything that was done maliciously. Today, people deliberately go out and put out a story knowing that story is fake and false. Many of our younger journalists are just plain lazy. Looking back at my own days in the media, when I interviewed world leaders, I went to interview Mr. Gandhi, Shimon Peres, Benazir Bhutto. Conventional media, as we've known it, is in trouble. Print journalism is dying gradually. You can't compete with the hacks, but you can compete with the form of social media. Many media houses are beginning to fold up.
premiering this Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. with a repeat broadcast at 8:30 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
I actually moved back to Nigeria to open a bakery. This was my goal, and everything I did up till this point was in preparation for this. First of all, life was great because I moved in 2015 right before the recession, right? It was awesome. I was like, wow, there's so much money out here, man. The cost of overheads, power generation, water, you have to be your own local government. And there are no tax breaks. Many places where, where they realize the small business environment is difficult would offer some kind of tax breaks and incentives. We don't do that out here. We want you to come back. We want you to, to start businesses here, but we're not going to do anything to help you. All my experiences in the past have led me ultimately to where I am now.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I think we've done very well in the very difficult circumstances in which we took over governance.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say!
The perception in itself does more harm than actual corruption that you have.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
So, Rugged Man says he has nothing to do with Naira Marley's arrest, and singer Simi opens up by saying being a woman is so hard. All these headlines are up for conversation right here on the afternoon edition of Tea Time. So, I've got my colleagues here on set, Ife Oshunkeye, Elsie Godwin, and Ife Omar. Why are you not laughing? Good heavens.
No, it's fine.
Yes, we're here, exactly. And in case you're wondering, I am Tokumbo Taiwo, and we're starting with Rugged Man, who says he has nothing to do with Naira Marley's arrest. So let me start with Ife. Yes.
Okay, why me? Okay, so Rugged Man, well, I think a lot of people have had that conspiracy theory that Rugged Man may have something to do with it, knowing that it's well connected, especially with the EFCC, the SARS, and
police brutality.
He's been very vocal about things like this, especially fraud and stuff. So people feel like, okay, maybe he was the one that gave them inside information. I've heard a couple of friends saying that, is that Rugged Man is a snitch and all that. But I don't feel that way. I just think the song is self-explanatory, and anyone in their right senses listening to it. And if you notice these days, EFCC even replies your trolls. You get
they respond on social media.
They reply your trolls. You get there's almost everybody replies your trolls on social media. So they're there. They're seeing what you're putting out there. So I think it's just a lesson to everybody. Be more careful what you say. Be more careful what you put on social media, because there are people watching.
Exactly. Remember when we actually talked about this, I was saying I wonder what Rugged Man's reaction is going to be. You know, but funny enough, he didn't actually say anything on social media for the 48 hours that they were kept in.
He actually had a
beforehand. I'm saying when they were arrested, immediately the 48 hours, he didn't say anything. It was later when people were now saying, okay, maybe it was him, that he finally said, okay, maybe it's time to say something. Because I was expecting
this, press release he put out also, what would I call it? Yeah, he was trying to defend one other one, which unfortunately I have not seen. But from what he wrote, he's saying that he said he was happy they were arrested, and that looking in hindsight, maybe he shouldn't have used those words because it's making it look like he's happy or wanted to bring Naira Marley down. So that is not what he meant. So that was why he actually came out to put out this statement now to let people know that no, I'm not happy somebody's going down, but I hope that he learns from the situation and then also clear his name from the whole conspiracy theory if I just
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes total sense. Ife, what's your take?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said. I just remembered last time we were talking about it, we were saying that why is someone like Rogedi, you know, allowing Naira Marley, blah, blah, blah. But I think well, let me just speak for myself. I kind of missed the fact that this was kind of his job. This is kind of stuff that he did. So it wasn't just somebody jumping on a cloud. It's his line of business. So, you know, that's why he's...
Music is supposed to be his line of business.
I guess we do that. But technically,
why would you say that?
But hasn't he retired from music?
Oops. Oops. Okay.
This is not... It's not
you're on Naira Marley's... Sorry, because that's what Naira Marley was saying, that he's trying to jump on some kind of relevance.
Artist now.
Exactly, that's what Naira Marley said.
Because he hasn't dropped any...
That's the thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean...
Actually, it just did not blow.
Recently?
Yes. He even jumped on the FU challenge, and his own was one of the best FU challenges ever.
Well,
yeah, he had one of the best.
If you say it's the best, it doesn't mean it's our best. Or everybody.
No, I'm not saying. I said his own was one of the best. I did not say it's the best.
It's probably not one of the best, but it's fine.
Well, yeah.
Based on opinion, I guess.
Based on opinion.
And so, yeah, pretty much. I guess, well, he seems to be more known for the... social movement that he's involved in more than his music and stuff. So I guess now it makes more sense why he even had more, so much to say about Naira Marley and taking all those interviews, because it's part of what he does, you know. So I kind of take that back from when they were saying like, why are you allowing this guy to like, you know, put you in his mouth and all that stuff. But him bringing out the statement and backing track of what he said, I think that's fine. Like, it's not a big deal.
Okay, all right. Anyone else want to put in any final thoughts?
I think that's fine. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Was that Ife you were just doing? I was like, seriously, what has gone over Elsie? Okay. Well, I think we should move on to our next story now. It's regarding Empire. Well, the Justice Smollett case. Empire will apparently end after the Epic Season 6, and apparently there are no plans whatsoever for Justice Smollett to return. Okay, so we've talked about this back and forth.
It's interesting you brought it up this morning.
Yeah,
talk about hindsight.
Please.
Wow. Okay.
To be honest, I used to be a big fan of Empire, but they've been heading towards a close before Justice Smollett. I just want to say that. Yeah, because it started getting like, it was like ooh-wee and like downfall and stuff. So I know.
Like ooh-wee.
You think it really went back? I don't think it ever went.
No, they were just.
No, he's.
Yeah, well, I guess it was more like flat for a while. Like there wasn't any climax or anything happening. So I know that it was going to end regardless. But I think it's not even, because you mentioned Epic Season 6. I don't even think it's going to be epic, especially with the fact that you're removing one of the most interesting characters.
Like they want to come out with the final bang, like the what do they call it? I think they're doing something like the Game of Thrones, where they want to have like the final season and let it be big, and like you said, it was probably going down, so they just want to close on a big scale.
My only worry is how they're going to do that without that guy's character, because
that's
if you watch the show, it was pretty,
one of the and that's one of the reasons why the cast, were all rallying around to say they need him to get back onto the show regardless of whatever has happened. And then they left his contract still open. Yes, exactly,
so
still
I think
open.
there's going to be a time when he will show up in season 6,
yeah.
right? And I'm a big fan of Empire,
this guy.
I did not see it going up. up.
I'm going down. You enjoyed it all the way.
I enjoyed it all because I love music.
Yeah.
I loved their crazy and all that. So, season 6. Well, let's see what they'll give us for season 6. Really.
Well, you guys, you know, like I keep saying, I have a feeling they're just waiting for the case to be finalized. If Justice Smollett gets a whip on a positive note, then they'll bring him back. But if he doesn't, they will be like, yeah, we never give you any assurances. So you
think if the case is closed and he's not found guilty. There'll be another season?
There won't be another season.
This is the final.
Yes, which is next.
Final episode.
Yes, so that's
I need
what
to help them make it great. I have a feeling that they're having 2 scripts right now. One without him, and they will deal with it as it happens.
Ife, you've gone very quiet. Any more thoughts before we move on?
Basically, like I said it earlier, I said it's only right. If I was Fox, I wouldn't put him in there till his case is concluded. It's only right. So it makes a lot of sense.
All right, then. We're going to go on a break. When we come back, we'll have time for some very interesting headlines. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, my people? It's your boy Elvis Poco. I want to say to you, keep watching Tea Time on Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Best concert of your life? Don't just stay cool, stay refreshed with an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Pick your lane, solo or bigger boy.
Taste the feeling.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be unaware of the chief justice.
It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, you know, the news.
Hi, my name is Ike Okechukwu.
And Florence Okechukwu. Keep
watching Tea Time on Plus TV
Africa.
To Plus TV Africa, the big stories live right here, and you're watching Tea Time, yes, where we bring you all of the biggest entertainment stories. And coming up next, we've got Lydia Forson attacks those accusing Chris Attor of murder, and Chris Attor's wife was reportedly still married to a drug lord back in the US. Okay, so
you fellas come to you first, and you're from Ghana.
Yes.
From Ghana here.
He didn't get it. It's gone.
Say what the people will say about him.
Your people.
Your people.
Was that what you were going to say?
No,
I was wrong.
You were wrong.
Okay, so please go ahead.
Elsie's already.
I was expecting it was so natural for two. It's always so natural for two people.
In fact, you always predict me wrong.
When it's a Ghana thing, it's like, okay, so since it's a Ghana, let's come to Ife first. So, okay. So, Chris Attor, sadly, lost his wife, may her soul rest in peace. And they got married about 8 months ago. And I think the marriage has been on the rocks for a while because he deleted all our pictures recently. And then people felt like, you can't be that stupid. And I also feel like he can't be that stupid to delete the picture just a few days back and then go ahead and kill her or send somebody to kill her.
Yeah, people
and
get
then
that stupid though, so.
Well, you never know what love. And
yeah.
then I'm not. Aside that, I'm also going to look at the fact that she's also married to two people. Yeah, especially not even. It's not even the fact that he's a drug dealer or he's a drug kingpin. It's the fact that you're still legally married to somebody. He's serving a 20-year sentence in jail. and then you're married to another person, and this is somebody that is well connected in Maryland where you were shot. So anything could have happened. I do not want to say, and it could have, but according to what they said, it wasn't a random attack, it was targeted. So they actually
of course,
targeted her.
yeah.
So whichever ways, I think people shouldn't be insensitive at the moment by saying Chris Atto, because if he's not the one, he's probably grieving right now, and you never know what that would do.
I think the reason
why is everyone pointing at Chris? Why?
I was going to say that the drug lord information came way after they found out about the shot. So when the viewers, because I'm part of those stupid people, when I read it, I was like, okay, because 2 minutes ago, like the last thing we heard about them is he got married right recently after his nasty divorce, right? Like that was already like super, like I say, dodgy. And then you marry this person. It's less than 8 months. You've deleted all our pictures. In like 2 weeks, she's dead. So I was just like, birth, how? You know, like, is everything okay? So I didn't even think like, oh, he's the one who shot her. But I thought of him as well. Like, is this part of the trail of mess that has been happening? And then afterwards, when I started saying that the marriage wasn't even legally binding because she's married to somebody else and all of that stuff, it started to look more like this had nothing to do with Chris and more of her previous life. So I was like, oh, okay.
And then a Ghanaian prophet also took to Twitter to say, cheating on your wife can lead to murder, like insinuating that it's being unfaithful or being unfaithful, something in that nature.
Who, Chris?
Like,
or
yeah, like being unfaithful can lead to your wife's death. So
I think
you know,
you
like,
guys are not even getting my point. I don't know if you've gotten it. I am saying everyone is pointing the finger at Chris. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not
at
everyone,
the moment,
some
well,
people.
majority.
Not majority.
Not majority.
Well, like I'm saying, before they found out that she was married to drug lords, the narrative was that Chris had something to do with her murder.
This is what caused the pointing fingers. The description, that's what I was trying to look for, but unfortunately I can't find it. The description of the man or the supposed killer had close to Chris's description.
Okay.
You know, so people just
assumed it was Chris.
You know, so that was
is
where
that
the whole
dark,
thing started
tall
from.
with a tin frame and black. So
so that was where the whole started
that could be anybody's description.
That's the majority of people in Africa. Well, you know the husband, and then they're already having issues where you're deleting her
it was
pictures.
in Ghana.
We don't know. But we don't know all that information.
What about the
yes,
guy?
you do. I'm telling you.
No, as in when we were watching the news. This happened a few days ago. When we were watching the news, we didn't know where Chris Atto was. I'm not thinking about that. It's just common sense. Like the first.
As soon as the news broke, the first thing I did was call someone in Ghana. Is Chris around? And they say, yeah, Chris is around.
You see, that's a journalist perspective.
Content. The guy in the that is serving 20 years. He might be a suspect as well. Not necessarily him, but he could have organized for
I mean,
this
if
to
that
happen.
guy can be a suspect, why can't Chris be a suspect? I'm sorry, they are grieving. The two husbands, let's put it that way, they are grieving. But it's not a case of I'm saying, oh, Chris did it or he did it.
No, I'm not
it's
saying
just a case of when there's an investigation.
Exactly. Let me make my point, Elsie.
And that is what is happening.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying that, a lot of people are just like looking because, like you said, the description fits Chris Atto. I'm saying, what about the husband? He's the one in prison. He's the one that was known for selling crack. He could have arranged it, maybe upon discovering that she got married,
and then she was still living in his apartment.
That's the thing. So I'm like, he's even more bitter. So I
think the narrative now, after we've gotten the information that, because when she died, there was no information that she had been married before. The narrative was Chris Atto's wife has passed away. Full stop.
All right. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, we're out of time.
To say, let's not be comfortable pointing the fingers to someone in jail because he's in jail.
No, that's not.
Well, I'm going to say, let us
guys, we're out of time. We need to leave it there. Let's leave it there. We're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow. But first, thank yous, and always go to my co-anchors, Ife Square, LC, the entire production team as well. Until next time, I'm Tokumbo Taiwo and saying good evening and thanks for watching.
Today on the program, we'll be talking with Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi, a media guru.
When I was fired from my job at the Daily Times, I started my company. Young people aren't doing enough. They followed Mogalu, they followed Rotary on social media. On election day, how many votes did I get? The Zeke story, it wasn't anything that was done maliciously. Today, people deliberately go out and put out a story knowing that that story is fake and false. Many of our younger journalists are just plain lazy. Looking back at my own days in the media, when I interviewed world leaders, I went to interview Mr. Gandhi, Shimon Peres, Benazir Bhutto. Conventional media, as we've known it, is in trouble. Print journalism is dying gradually. You can't compete with the hacks, but you can compete with the form of social media. Many media houses are beginning to fold up.
Premiering this Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. with a repeat broadcast at 8:30 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
This TV station, Plus TV Africa, is designed to help to create a paradigm shift. The more we tell our stories, the more we learn from whatever our past mistakes have been.
We can be much more than we are. We should be doing a lot in refineries.
And we are definitely investing in our staff. We're training, we're developing, we're creating the kind of workforce that will be the envy of the international broadcast. The quality of the reportage, the quality of our presentation, the quality of our production will be obvious. We're saying that we want to reach Africans wherever they are and get the message across to them. That's what Plus TV Africa is all about.
I actually moved back to Nigeria to open a bakery. This was my goal. And everything I did up till this point was in preparation for this. First of all, life was great because I moved in 2015 right before the recession, right? It was awesome. I was like, wow, there's so much money out here, man. The cost of overheads, power generation, water, you have to be your own local government. And there are no tax breaks. Many places where, where they realize the small business environment is difficult would offer some kind of tax breaks and incentives. We don't do that out here. We want you to come back. We want you to, to start businesses here, but we're not going to do anything to help you. All my experiences in the past have led me ultimately to where I am now.
That money will shoot every person that we know can shoot. We don't let people die there.
You could have killed me for a long period of time.
Since that time why I carry gonorrhea. I first go hospital first, but it no go. Now I come make that mama.
He just pulled it, he pointed and shot.
My country people, you do well say you join us inside News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa. This one that I'm sorry where they make background for this very o'clock. My name, Nabetiana Unwili. Hundreds of people go today Wakago Nigeria Mission House for the United Kingdom and the United States of America for night vigil as part of global concern for the 16th birthday anniversary of Leah Sharibu, where be one of the 110 girls with them Kolobi from their school for Dapchi by Boko Haram. Them go also do similar gathering for the U.S. Senate building for Capitol Hill today for Washington. Students of primary schools for Jos don't do peaceful march, and at the same time, then they pray for Leah's safe return. The students will gather from different schools don't call on the federal government to secure schools so that innocent children not go suffer for the things we they don't know about. Speaking for the mini rally, the president of Leah Foundation, Dr. Gloria Samdi Puldu, don't beg the federal government to honor them promises of freeing Leah from captivity. Meanwhile, prominent Nigerians don't also join the call for Leah Sharibu release and to wish her happy birthday. Reno Omokri, Senator Ali Undume, Senator Ben Bruce, among other Nigerians, don't raise cap for Leah for her bravery.
Hello, Leah. Happy 16th birthday. My name is Reno Omokri. You probably don't know me, but I know your mom and your dad. I've been going around the world, 19 countries this year alone, telling people about your story, and I've been wearing my free Leah Sharibu clothing around the world. I wrote this book also to tell people about your story, so you're not forgotten. A couple of friends of mine are going to be joining me after this, and international flutist Tima Komashala composed a song for your birthday, for your 16th birthday. Enjoy this.
I want to use this opportunity to wish Leah Sharibu a happy 16th birthday. I strongly believe that all hands are on deck, making sure you eventually come home to be with your loved ones. And by this time next year, I pray we all gather in your home to wish you a happy 17th birthday.
Happy birthday, Leah. I know I'm going to see you very soon when you get out of captivity. I will be the first to come see you at home with your parents. We're all praying for you, and I know a beautiful girl like you will come home to go to school, go to university, become a lawyer, so you can help us fight injustice. I love you.
Happy 16th birthday, Leah Sharibu. My name is Senator Ali Ndume. I'm a Muslim, but I join my friend Reno Omokri in praying for your freedom. May the spirit of Ramadan touch the heart of your captors to release you as soon as possible in the spirit of this holy month of Ramadan. Happy birthday, Leah Sharibu.
We get Oga Reno Omokri online for him to actually tell us what they happen concerning Leah matter. Now, what make Leah birthday they very important to you, sir?
Marking Leah Sharibu's birthday is very important to me because it shows that she hasn't been forgotten. You know, I've been to 19 countries since this year. I've actually been to more, but in 2019, I've been to 19 countries. I've met with VIPs all over the world. 3 weeks ago, I was with Boris Johnson, the former UK Foreign Secretary, who might emerge as the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And after that meeting, the Pope called President Buhari. So it's really important. It shows that Leah has not been forgotten, and then it makes her valuable to her captors, and the more valuable she is to her captors, the more likely that she is not going to be killed. And we are praying that by this time next year we'll celebrate her birthday live with her parents.
But now what do you think about the efforts where the government don't do so far to secure her release from captivity?
I think the government can do a whole lot better. They can do a whole lot better. I mean, we know for a fact that the current Minister of Defense said he had back channels to Boko Haram. The government has back channels, and so they could do a lot. We got privileged information yesterday, as a matter of fact, that Boko Haram are ready to negotiate. You know, it was, in fact, I wouldn't say it's privileged information. It was released by the AFP, the Agence France Presse. So we know that they are ready to negotiate. The government should negotiate for the release of this girl, because this girl is not being kept because she's a girl or because of anything. She's being kept because she has refused to abandon her faith in Christ. And, you know, it's not a very good thing for Nigeria to have that classification. I don't think the government is doing enough. They could do a lot more. They could use those back channels. Recently, we saw a girl, Zainab Aliyu, who was suspected to have carried drugs into Saudi Arabia. Now, she said she didn't do it, but we saw the priority that the government, President Muhammadu Buhari, personally placed on Zainab's freedom. He put himself personally machinery in motion to get her released. Now, is it because Zainab Aliyu is a Muslim, and you know, we don't want to say these things, you know, I feel bad saying it, but we have to, when we see what's been happening, we are left with very little choice but to make these comparisons. The government could do a lot more, and I urge President Muhammadu Buhari that same sense of urgency that he showed with the case of Zainab Aliyu, he should show that to Leah Sharibu. Leah Sharibu was 14 when she was abducted. Now she's 16. You know, I've been going around the world, and I will still keep on going around the world. If the president thinks that this matter is going to go away quietly, it will not. As long as I'm alive, and as long as people of goodwill are alive, it will not go away quietly.
But you believe, say, the federal government needs to negotiate for them to release Leah?
You ask me, do I believe that the federal government should negotiate for her release? That's a moot question. This administration, the Muhammadu Buhari administration, has negotiated for the release of previous hostages. They negotiated for the release of some of the Chibok girls that they got. They didn't rescue those girls. They paid ransom. I have it in my book. I have it here. Facts. If the government doubts me, if they want to take me to court, I'll prove them. I'll disgrace them in court. We've got the evidence. They did negotiate for the release of some of these girls. Some of the Chibok girls escaped on their own, and then the rest that were gotten by this administration were not rescued. They negotiated, they paid a ransom for these girls. And what we are asking them to do is treat Leah no different. We want Leah to come out from there, because Leah is being held because she is a Muslim. And that's why I'm going around the world. I'm going around the world with my free Leah Sharibu clothing. I have them, various sets of them. That's all I wear. That's all I wear, you know. And I'm saying to you, in answer to that question, yes, I believe that the government should negotiate for the release of Leah Sharibu.
Okay, so now how the federal government go fit prevent a repeat of this Leah Sharibu matter?
You asked me how the government can prevent a repeat of this situation. You see, the reason why northern Nigeria right now is under an insecurity blanket is because that area, that part of the world, has the most number of illiterates per square mile. Now, it's not an insult if you are a northerner, it's just a reality. And that's the reason why former President Jonathan built 165 Almajiri schools in the north. He didn't build any in the south, he built all of them in the north, including 9 new federal universities. So there's no state in northern Nigeria that doesn't have a university courtesy of former President Jonathan. And there's no state in northern Nigeria that does not have at least 4 Almajiri schools. Now, if you do not arrest illiteracy, you're going to keep on arresting Nigerian youths for insecurity, because you obviously know the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Satan, the devil, finds work for idle hands. These people, you have in Kano alone 3 million children that are out of school. In northern Nigeria, you have a total of 12 million children that are out of school. I think it was last year, Nigeria overtook India as the #1 country with the most out-of-school children. Now, bear this in mind that India has 8 times our population. So it has to be a long-term strategy. This administration has been in power now for 4 years. They haven't built one single school. Go and verify that. Go and research that. I'm notorious, or I'm known for being in command of the facts. I research before I speak. I don't just speak anyhow. They haven't built one school. Now, how are you going to address this issue? You think you're going to do that with guns and bullets? These people, they're not afraid of dying. They want to die. They want to go to Al-Jannah Fidausi, which is what the Quran calls paradise. And they think that if you kill them, that is the fastest way. Now, I've read the Quran, and I know that what their interpretation of the Quran is wrong. But the only way that they will know it is wrong is if you educate them. Because the more you know, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more enlightened you become. So the way to prevent a repeat of this is to massively declare an educational emergency in Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria. It doesn't matter if you're spending money from the south. War, there will be famine, there will be disease.